With indices soaring, it appears yesterday was just a knee-jerk reaction. I'll point out levels to look out for next week, but before we get into that, there's the closing bell with the S&Ps finishing the day up about 45 points. It was a beautiful trend day up. When we zoom out, you could just take a look. That knee-jerk reaction of selling, we quickly recovered, and we're finishing right around where we topped out in yesterday's tape. Now, when we take a look at this on a daily, the S&P put in a new all-time high. However, it came back a bit. The volume just isn't all right there to back it up, so some traders potentially could be on the sidelines in today's rally. But when we take a look at it on the SPX, we were coming into this week expecting 55 points. Let's take it to a weekly. And we're closing negative on the week. We just couldn't get going. We were negative Monday, negative Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, all negative. We briefly got positive right in the final minutes of trade. However, we sold off. So going into next week, I'll discuss next week's move, but let's move on over and take a look at the Nasdaq. And over in the Nasdaq today, it was up 1.25%. So the Nasdaq has been getting a pretty wild range these past 4 sessions, potentially is putting in a bottom and going to try to march higher. When we throw it on the expected move for next week, 14.2 is the upper edge in the Nasdaq, and our lower edge is going to play around 13,635. So if this is a floor we're putting in, we'll look to take out 14K next week and potentially hit that upper edge at 14.2. But to get there, we're going to need the bonds to probably break out. When we take a look at the bonds today, the bonds were about flat on the day. Volume isn't quite there, but they're on the verge of breaking higher. When we look at the TNX, however, it was up today, but clearly the Nasdaq didn't care as it was in the green. So if the bonds break higher, it's going to send this yield down a bit. Sending that yield down is going to give these growth name stocks a nice boost, and it's going to be fuel to this next leg higher. We take a look at the Russell today. It was the leading index, up close to 2%. Even the Russell looks like it's poised to break higher. This is good momentum that we need heading into the weekend. We'll see if the Russell can get going in next week's tape. But over in the volatility, the VIX futures today were down about 3.5%. So volatility coming back down. In the VVIX, it's down 6.3%. We look how that traded. You can just see we gapped down in the morning, broke the 110. However, we did get a bit of a rally in the close. This could be a concerning sign considering volume just wasn't all there in today's tape. However, I feel this is just protection. Seeing the market just recover how it did in today's tape is pretty impressive if you ask me. So let's move on over and take a look at our SPX and see what the expected move is in next week's tape. So we go over to the SPX, we hit the trade tab, and we look 7 days out. 7 days out says $62.11. So I'll draw these levels in and we'll discuss next week's levels to look out for in the SPX. So with just 62 points of move in next week's tape, our upper edge would take us to 42.42. It'll be interesting to see if momentum can carry. Largely, it's going to be on the backs of technology if they get moving. However, if we do see selling, 41.18 is our lower edge on the week. Coming in next week is 41.80, which is where we close. So we'll have to see what goes on. But ultimately, seeing today recover was a great sign going into the weekend, and it gives you some hope into next week. But let's take a look at some of the sectors across the board. And I take a look, the XLF was the top performing sector today, up 1.87%. It put a new high, however, it pulled back a bit. Right behind that, the XLK technology stocks on fire as well. We even see the software stocks up 1.4%. With our big 5 up 1.42%, you can just take and look at the names. Apple 1.8, Microsoft 1.5, Amazon about 1%, Google 2%, Facebook 1.5%, and Tesla 1.3%. So getting some strength out of these big market cap companies. Taking a look at the industrials, up over 1% as well, putting in a new all-time high. Energy up 0.9%, trying to put in a bottom here. Potentially energy could be joining this rally here very soon. Healthcare up 0.6 today. Put a new all-time high. It was our consumer staples down 0.25%, trying to find a floor here to join the rally. But across the board, it seems like this market is gearing to go higher. We'll see how that transitions into Monday. But let's move on over and take a look at our dollar index and see what's going on in the commodities. And taking a look at the dollar index, it's down about 56 basis points. So the dollar is just falling through a floor. How much lower will this go? Well, we take a look at crude oil. It benefited from that today, up 1.2%. Crude oil is on the move higher. That will help lift the XLE and get it catching up to the rally. We take a look at gold, however, it was down 1/3% today, getting rejected at the 1800. With the dollar falling, gold isn't getting some bids because it seems those bids are just going into stocks. As you see, all our indices well into the green. When we take a look at Bitcoin, it was down 3.7%. Got pretty low. We're below $1 trillion. And we take a look at some of my charts here. We'll start with the Coinbase 4-hour. Taking a look at this chart, I pointed out that crossover right there. So we got that volatility. So what's going to happen? We have to try to find a base. 47.8 seemed to be a pretty strong level. Can we get back above 51.9? Potentially. We'll look to get over that level this weekend, but ultimately I would like to stay somewhere in this range over the weekend. This is a 4-hour, so it would only be to like right about there. But moving on to the Binance chart, again, another Fibonacci, 47.5 here and then 52K there. So getting above this 52K would be nice to see. However, I would like to hold 50K. Ultimately, this 47.5, I think 48K has some good support there. But taking a look at the Bitstamp chart, there's the crossover at May 2nd. So right here, what's going to happen? I'd like to hold this over the weekend. This is the last resort to hold, which you can see that level's around 46, call it 47, and this level's about 50K right there. So if we can somewhat hang out in this area by this crossover, this could be gearing up to finally going back higher. We'll have to take it day by day, but ultimately going into the weekend, I would like to see us hold around 48K. Above 50K would be a plus, but take it day by day and buy these dips when it's down. This is a great opportunity to start loading a position if you missed out on the run to 65K. There you have it for the stock market breakdown. So the knee-jerk selling from the Biden news yesterday turned out to be a great buying opportunity in today's tape. With momentum on their side, the bulls needed a day like today heading into the weekend. 62 points is what the XPX is pricing in. That upper edge would take us to around 42.42. We'll see if that happens over in the Nasdaq. That level's around 14.2. But we do have the Federal Reserve that will be talking in the middle of next week. We'll talk more on Monday. But if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like. It means a lot if you guys can show some support. And if you're watching me for the first time, I do these breakdowns daily. Show some love and hit that subscribe button. It really means a lot if you guys can do that. Any comments or questions for me, I'd love to hear from you guys. Don't be shy. But on that note, I will see you next week. Take care. Peace!